What the dank fark was this freaking episode? In a good way, of course. I freaking mean it in a goddamn way that this episode was freaking amazing. This definitely brought in many cameos, and I think Dave did a freaking amazing job for this chapter. Let us get into the review already before I freak out more, which I already do in this video.
Yeah, but first I want to say that, like the last episode, my one complaint is that, again, this episode pushes Boba Fett back into a non-important character in his own show. But there is a reason why. In this case, though, it is still a way too damn good of an episode. I'll allow Geek358_2 to start from the beginning.
We first get an introduction of some Pikes doing some spice business until we hear Cobb's voice tell him to go somewhere else, and we get the sheriff kill shots of a few Pikes but leaves one alive to tell him to leave the spice behind and never come back to Mos Pelgo again. And the Pike leaves off as Cobb kicks the box for the wind to carry off the spice in the box.
It is interesting seeing the Pikes starting to be a threat, considering the fact that we haven't seen them to be this much of a threat in a long while.
Then we see Din flying into a planet and lands to see R2-D2 and ask where Grogu is. The droid takes him to see other droids building to what we know as the school that Luke Skywalker wanted to train other students from. I'm gonna say it, the sequels!
Which, I would like to add, there is freaking training! Unlike Rey, that receives no training, there's actual training with Grogu. Not to mention that freaking Luke Skywalker looks amazing. Seeing the true hero of Star Wars actually here is amazing. Next to Anakin, Obi-Wan, Ahsoka, Han, and blah blah blah, you get the point. He is just the top guy of Star Wars, the figurehead of Star Wars.
Anyways,
Okay.
No one is around and the droids make a bench for Din to wait as R2 powers down. And then we get into this meditation session with Luke and Grogu, and it's honestly hilarious when Grogu tries to eat a frog, but Luke prevents him from doing that to show him the true power of the Force by picking up many frogs, and Grogu's eyes widen is hilarious to watch. After the session, they both go on a walk, and Luke reminds Grogu of him looking familiar to Yoda and helps remember his past to see the freaking 501st Legion and Order 66. Damn it, Dave.
Honestly, this is what I call a blast from the past. Going back to the prequels after it had been so many years since they actually happened here in the real world. It was really quite a treat. Also, I still love how Luke and Grogu's master and student relationship is shown here.
We go back to Din waking up from a nap on the bench and see Ahsoka is there, and we finally get to see a moment with her and R2 together in a live action moment, and she says she is an old family friend! Like I said, Ahsoka tells him that the building is the school being made and Grogu will be his first student.
This was something I love seeing. Ahsoka mentioning Anakin, even if not by name. It's just, this makes me curious how both the Obi-Wan series and the Ahsoka series will be like, but I'm getting ahead of myself.
Of course, Din is persistent in seeing Grogu as he and Ahsoka walk through the forest and he sees Luke and Grogu from a distance. Ahsoka reminds him of how much Grogu misses him and warns him in not seeing him to not ruin his training. Din agrees but gives the gift to her and asks her to give it to him before leaving. We go into another training lesson and just seeing Grogu test his reflexes was just so pure at sea, and we also get a Luke and Ahsoka moment that we all wanted to see ever since fan arts have been made. And the moment she said that Luke reminds her of his father, I flat out screamed and cried.
I also smiled since it is honestly something that most of us old Clone Wars fans have wanted. Most of us. The apprentice of Anakin to interact with either his son or his daughter. As someone who had seen the Clone Wars from the very beginning and been with Ahsoka since her debut, this scene was just perfect. There's just no words other than just perfect.
And we go back to Din meeting with Boba and Fennec as they find out there's going to be an attack on their territory. Even with Din, they don't have a chance until Din decides to go back to Mos Pelgo to ask for Cobb's citizens' assistance again. But this time Cobb questions the offer this time and lets him know he'll talk with his people about it. As Din leaves, we get someone coming into town and it's no freaking other than Cad Bane himself. I fucking screamed and knew that Cobb and his new deputy were not gonna live, and it happened of course, cause that's how Dave does it with him. And then we go into Garza's sanctuary to find two Pikes go in with a canister, and they both leave quietly and quickly to find out it was a bomb that's set off. And then we end us off with Luke showing off the armor Din gifted Grogu, and it gives me a reminder of the Lord of the Rings when Bilbo gave Frodo the armor. The other gift is none other than Yoda's lightsaber, but Luke reminds him if he takes the armor, he will no longer become a Padawan and will have to go back to Din.
My theory is that either A, he will pick both and try to balance both sides, or B, which is most likely, go with the Mandalorian. The reason I think that it is B is because if this is connected to the sequels, the god-awful sequels, then that means that Grogu abandoned being a Jedi, since Kylo Ren, or well, Ben Solo, was confirmed to be Luke's first student. That's just the theory, and also I think Luke might help Boba Fett, since he would try to return Grogu to Mando, only to get involved with the whole Pikes syndicate stuff. And considering it is his homeland, why he wouldn't help is beyond me, but that's besides the point. This is just a theory, though I kind of hope this one happens.
This episode was just so freaking much to take in, and I will say that Dave did a freaking amazing job again. And I know this will sound like this does take away from seeing Boba and Fennec since it is their show, and I will not deny that. But my predictions for the last chapter will be that Grogu will actually take the armor in order to make the timeline for Season 3 of Mandalorian to continue, and also agreeing with Green Warrior's theory here. And there will actually be an official standoff between Boba and Cad like we always wanted ever since the deleted scene in Clone Wars. And I think Boba will take the win against this. I can't wait to see the final chapter.
Overall, this episode was a solid 11 out of 10 with Luke. Without him, it would have been a 7 out of 10.
I hope you guys enjoyed this review, and we'll see you in the final chapter. See ya!